right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We are back. Continuing on with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We today are going to start looking at the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, which is in the wilderness. We're going to be looking at this week's Torah portion, Numbers, chapter 1. I think we'll probably read a good part of it first, and then go back and talk about it. I'm going to pull up, get right into it, pull up the verses over here. Let's see here, Numbers. Chapter 1. Go ahead and start reading at verse 1.
All right. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai in the tent of appointment on the first day to the second new moon, in the second year after they had came out of the land of Mitzrayim, saying, Take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel by their clans, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, every male, head by head, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army in Israel. Number them by their divisions, you and Aaron. And a man from every tribe should be with you, each one the head of his father's house. And these are the names of the men who stand with you. From Reuben, Elzer, son of Shaddai, from Shem, Choros Shaddai, from Yehuda, Nashum, son of Aminadab, from Yokser, Nathaniel, son of Suar, from Zebulon, Eliab, son of Phelon, from sons of Joseph, from Ephraim, Elisham, son of Ameliud, from Manasseh, Gamaliel, son of Pedazur, from Benjamin, Abinad, son of Gideon, from Dan, Eleazar, son of Aminishadai, from Asher, Pagiel, son of Okran, from Gad, Eliasaph, son of Joel, from Naphtali, Ahira, son of Enan. These are the ones called from the congregation, leaders of their fathers' tribes, heads of the thousands of Israel. And Moshe and Aaron took these men who were called by name, when they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second new moon. And they declared their ancestry by clans, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, each one head by head. And Yahweh commanded Moshe, he said, Register them in the wilderness of Sinai. And the children of Reuben, this was firstborn, their genealogies, by their clan, by their father's house, according to the number of names, every male head by head, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Reuben were 46,500. From the children of Shimeon, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, Of those who were registered according to the number of names, every male head by head from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army, and those who registered of the tribe of Shimeon were 59,300. From the children of Gad, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out of the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Gad were 45,650. From the children of Judah, their genealogies by their clans, by their families' house, according to the number of the names, from 20 years and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Yehuda were 74,600. From the children of Issachar, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Issachar were 54,400. From the children of Zebulun, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out of the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Zebulun were 57,400. From the sons of Joseph, the children of Ephraim, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Ephraim were 40,500. From the children of Manasseh, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Manasseh were 32,200. From the children of Benjamin, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Benjamin were 35,400. From the children of Dan, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Dan were 62,700. From the children of Asher, the genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Asher were 41,500. From the children of Naphtali, their genealogies by their clans, by their father's house, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army. Those who were registered of the tribe of Naphtali were 53,400. These are those registered whom Moshe and Aaron registered with the leaders of Israel, 12 men, each one for his father's house. All those that were registered of the children of Israel by their father's houses from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army of Israel. All those that were registered were 603,550. And the Levites were not registered among them by their father's tribe, because Yahweh had spoken to Moshe, saying, only the tribe of Levi you do not register, nor take the census of them among the children of Israel. Instead, appoint the Levites over the dwelling place of the witness, over all its furnishings, and over all the belongings to it. They that bear the dwelling place and all its furnishings, and they that attend to it, and camp around the dwelling place. And if the dwelling place is to go forward, the Levites take it down. And the dwelling place is to be set up, the Levites set it up. And a stranger who comes near is put to death. And the children of Israel shall pitch their tents, everyone by his own camp, everyone by his own banner, according to their divisions. But the Levites camp around the dwelling place of the witness, so that there be no wrath in the congregation of the children of Israel. And the Levites shall guard the duty of the dwelling place of the witness. And the children of Israel did according to all that Yahweh commanded Moshe, so they did.
Okay, very good. So we go all the way back up to the top. Again, we are looking at this over here, Numbers, which, we call it Numbers because of the English, but the Hebrew name of this book actually is Bamidbar, which is the first letters, the first words, or the first main idea of the book, which is in the wilderness. So we want to look at this a little bit. Look at some things here. Hold on one second. If we were to look at this opening sentence here in the Hebrew, let me move this over here so we can see it. Talk about this here first. Let's do this. This over here. Okay. Okay, very good. Oh, wait a second. Where's my... Alright, let's see if I can make this a little... do something with this a little bit. Oh, yeah, that makes this nice and big there. Oh, see that takes it too... that took it too far.
One click too far.
One too far. Alright, let's leave it right here. Okay, so if we look at this in the Hebrew as it begins, so we saw where it said in the scriptures where it said, and Yahweh spoke unto Moses in the wilderness. That is actually what we see here, where this literally in the Hebrew would say, and he spoke Yahweh right here to Moshe in the wilderness, Bamidbar, and he spoke Yahweh to Moses or Moshe in the wilderness. And so if we just look at this, without even knowing Hebrew, we're able to look at this over here and see that this over here looks just like this over here. If I can get it to highlight here, let's see. Okay, these three letters here are the same three letters as this over here. This word means he spoke, and he spoke. This word here. And this is the word for wilderness. Midbar. Okay? So I just wanted you to look at that But we're going to look at this, look at the words a little closer. Let me just pull this up here. Let me get our. So we want to look at, first of all, in the wilderness. In the wilderness, which the word for wilderness is midbar, which is what you see here, midbar. Midbar. Bamidbar is kind of the phrase, which means in the wilderness. So the actual word here is midbar, which means, it says, in the sense of driving a pasture, that is an open field. Cattle are the place where cattle are driven. By implication, a desert. Also, speech, including its organs. Interesting. Desert, south, speech, wilderness. So if we look at this word midbar, which occurs in the scriptures, it says here 271 times. If we look at the King James concordance over here, of the 271 occurrences of this word, 255 of those is translated as wilderness. So it's mostly always translated as wilderness, but interestingly enough, it comes from the word that means to speak. The bar, to arrange, to use figuratively of words, to speak, rarely in a destructive sense, subdue, answer, appoint, bid, command, commune, declare. All these things over here, this word the bar gives you, but as we say, when we see over here midbar is the desert. And so when we think about the desert, when we think about the idea of these pastures, the desert could be a place, as far as when we look at the scriptures, the desert could be a place where you are. The desert could be the things, the wilderness, the things that you go through. The wilderness can be the place, or the desert or the pastures could be the place where the animals are fed and grow and live. It could be the place where the animals are led by their shepherd. For Israel, when we think about the wilderness experience, the wilderness actually made and transformed Israel as a nation. When we think about the wilderness experience, we're able to see where things that the Most High wasn't pleased with, he separated from Israel. Separation in this instance is actually death. And so we see all of these things that we see in the scriptures in relation to the desert Midbar, but also thinking about the fact that Midbar comes from the word Dabar, which means to speak or speech or word. And so this place that is being translated as wilderness also could be thought of as an arrangement of words, right? Because if I'm speaking, I'm arranging words in a certain way, right? So speech is the arrangement of words. And so this very same word that means wilderness also can be thought of as the arrangement of words. Words, speech, they go forth, right? Words, speech is words going forth and reaching and affecting its hearers, right? That's what happens when someone speaks, right? You're speaking, and words are traveling through sound into your ear hole, and things are happening in your mind where you're understanding the words that are being said, and you're reacting, whether it be with understanding or whatever, to these words, right? And so we think about this word dabar, which is the root for wilderness. Here, let's pull this up here. We want to see the dictionary here. We look at this word here. Here, let's look at this word here. 1696. To speak, to say, to tell. We really want to look at this next word here. That's 96. We want to look at 97. Notice that's dabar. 97 is dabar. It's exactly the same word. So we're looking at different aspects of this same word, speech, matter, right? This we want to look at. Keep on losing my cursor. There we go. Okay, word, matter, as spoken of, a thing. If we think about words, if we think about matter, if we think about a thing, adverbially, a cause, something that's causative, a fair answer, any such thing. This word, dabar, is pretty is a lot of things, right? Message, matter, thing, oracle, ot, language, judgment, harm, iniquity, glory. It's all of these things dabar is. But when we think about speech really could be it could be anything. The Most High created by speech, right? He spoke things and life and everything into existence with words. And so when we think about, again, the connection between the wilderness, Midbar, and words, dabar, to speak, the fact that the wilderness exemplifies our life existence. Our life, true life, can't exist outside of the Most High, right? We understand what real life actually is when we begin to understand the words or that which comes forth from the Most High. And so when we think about the lessons that we could learn through the wilderness, it helps us to be able to, see, how the Most High wants to build us and grow us from a spiritual perspective. When we think about tabernacles, and the experience that we, experience in the wilderness, right? We think about the time of communing with the Most High, with the Most High dwelling in the midst of us, just like how He dwelt with Israel when Israel was in the wilderness. Right, so there's so many things that we could look at when we think about this word debar, which is the root of the wilderness. Let's see here. Let's look at what's this? Let's look at where is my whiteboard? Let's look at the word debar in the ancient. Oh, it's still got. I didn't clean my board. Already wiped off the board from the last time. Okay, so the bar is a dalet. A bait. And a resh. So in the ancient, we have the dalet, which is the door flap, which is dealing with the in and out movements, in and out, the idea of in and out, and the idea of movement. The bait is the tent floor plan. It's the blueprints for the house. And then the resh is the man's head. And so when we think about from a ancient perspective of what we see with the word debar, which is the root for the wilderness, which gives us the idea of the wilderness, and also gives the idea of speaking and words, and the arrangement of words. When we think about the Hebrew language or Hebrew thought process, words contain substance, right? There's substance contained in words from a Hebrew perspective. That's why when we talked about these difficult vowels that we make, it's not just words, as one might say, right? These things contain substance. They have meaning. If you say a thing, that thing exists.
Yeah.
What you said, right? And so, in words, just like physical objects, contain substance. And so, when we think about the word debar, again, this word debar, from the ancient perspective, this door that leads to or relates the movement through the plan of the head, right? If there was a plan that the head has or had, the way in or out of the plan of the head is through the door. If we think about Yeshua said he is the door. Right? Yeshua said he's the door. Anybody who comes to him, to the Father, any other way is a thief and a robber. Right? And so if we think about the idea, the concept of this door that leads to or relates to the movement through the plan of the head, that in and of itself just reminds me of Yeshua. The entrance to the inner dimensions. The house plan is going to show you the inner dimensions of the house. Right? If I got the blueprints of the house, that's going to show me the inner dimensions of it. I'm going to know every nook and cranny of this house if I have its blueprints. When I see this word debar over, is showing me the entrance, which is the door, into the inner dimensions of man, or the inner dimensions of the head. The head of man is Yahweh. And so when we think about this word debar, it's showing you some interesting things over here in terms of pointing us towards Yeshua. Okay, because when we think about the entrance to the inner dimensions of man, we're not able to connect to our inner dimensions lest we come through the door, which is Yeshua. Right? We're not able to understand the intricacies of the plans of the Almighty lest we come through Yeshua. And so when we think about this over here, let me go back to this little sentence that we saw over here. When we go back to this over here, it's interesting that we see over here where this is talking about, this is literally saying, and he spoke, and he said. Yahweh is the one who he is. He's the one who said to Moses in the wilderness. When we see this thing over here, we think, if we think about the bar in the way that we was just thinking about it, we understand that the Most High was literally with Moses and the people in the wilderness. And that's, we see here at the beginning of this, but understanding that if we go back before Leviticus, back to Exodus, where it talks about the, let's go back there real quick. We don't gotta think about it. We can just literally go there.
We'll just check it out. Yeah.
We go back to Exodus because there was a little bit of a parenthetical thing that happened with Leviticus in terms of giving us kind of the breakdown of what the use, the purpose of the tabernacle. But if we go back to Exodus, let me pull it up here real quick. We go back to Exodus. Exodus, the last chapter. Probably the last few verses. 34. Read that to the end for us here.
It says, and the cloud covered the tent of appointment, and the esteemed Yahweh filled the dwelling place. And Moshe was not able to come into the tent of appointment because the cloud dwelt on it, and the esteem of Yahweh filled the dwelling place. And when the cloud was taken up from above the dwelling place, the children of Israel went onward in all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not set out till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of Yahweh was on the dwelling place by day, and fire was on it by night, before the eyes of all the house of Israel in all their journeys.
Okay, so we see over here the way that Israel is going to travel, move through the wilderness is by following the leading of the presence of the Most High. When the Most High said that it was time to move, they moved according to his presence there, right? For the cloud of Yahweh was on the dwelling place by day, and fire was on it by night, before the eyes of all the house in all their journeys. Right? If the cloud was not taken up, then they did not set out till the day that it was taken up. They didn't move till he said move. Okay? And so the wilderness experience is about dwelling with the Most High and moving according to the presence of the Most High. Gaining access to the entrance to the inner dimensions of man and living your life accordingly. Right? The Most High dwelling in the midst of his people, and the people moving with the cloud. Let's look at some other verses over here, because this word debar is very interesting. Let's look at Genesis, Bereshit 15 and 1.
After these events, the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great.
Okay, very good. The word came to Abram in a vision. And the word said, don't be afraid. I am your shield. Your reward is exceeding great. What's this say over here? We already know what these things say, but we just putting them here so we can think about it all together.
This is John 1, verse 1. And in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim.
The word that we seeing over here is dealing with Yeshua, manifestation of the Most High in the flesh. The word became flesh. Verse, the word that was with Elohim became flesh. Verse 14. That's that same word back in Abraham, back in Genesis, came to Abraham in a vision, letting him know that he was his shield and his exceeding great reward. If we look at Psalms 33 and 6, look at Psalms 33 and 6. What's that say?
By the word of Yahweh the heavens were made, and all their hosts by the spirit of his mouth.
And so when we see over here all of these things that are taking place as a result of that which goes out from the Most High, his word. Right? And then he has these people that live according to his word. Israel. He said the way that he wants for us to live, by his word. And then we, his people, we walk around and do the things that he said. His word. And that wilderness experience is, it's a picture of it, but it literally happened with the Most High in the midst of his people telling us what we're supposed to do, and us doing the things that he said in the wilderness, being fed by our shepherd in the wilderness. And the thing that's feeding us is his words. Right? He said, what did he say over here? What did he say over here in Deuteronomy 8? Where does he say that? Verse 3? Yes.
Verse 3.
Yeah.
And he humbled you and let you suffer hunger, and fed you with manna which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, to make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of Yahweh.
But by every word that comes out of the mouth of Yahweh. That's how we live. Right? So this speech that pours out from the Most High, we live according to that in the wilderness. But the wilderness, we can't have this word for wilderness unless we have the word that means the word. So our wilderness experience, it corresponds with that which proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High. We're not able to live. We're not able to survive in this wilderness without. You can't have a wilderness without the word of the Most High. You can't have a wilderness without the word. Literally. You can't have Bami bar without the bar. You can't have a wilderness experience without the word, who is Yeshua. And so, this is something that we had to understand because, we're out here in this wilderness. We're out here and all kinds of things is happening around us, going on, in our lives, or just in our knowing, like things that are happening, the world, all of these things, our wilderness. But the Most High wants for us to understand that He's in the middle with us and traveling through this wilderness with us. And so when we look over here, when the Most High speaks to Moses, the thing that He talks to Moses about first, as they get ready to go and through their travels in the wilderness, the things that He talks to him first about is taking a census. Not for just the simple fact of information gathering and what are those things called with these people here take a census. They want to just information gather and take what are those things, surveys,
yeah.
and things, and just to they come up with these different statistics and things with these surveys that they do over here. But this survey, this census that the Most High said for Moses to take over here was about war. It was about battle. He said in verse 3, everyone going out to the army in Israel. These are the ones that he counted. Not like the other people didn't count or didn't matter, but what the Most High was interested in taking in account of was those that was 20 years old and above that was able to go out to war. The warriors. Those that was ready and willing. Well, didn't have nothing to do with willing.
Yeah.
Your age made you willing.
Yeah, it was duty.
The simple fact of who you was made you willing. It wasn't like we think about the idea of being ready, willing, and able. But this is taking the willing part out, right? If you was 20 years old and above, you was going out to war. You were going to be a defender of your people, right? And so they said that they was doing this census. Let's look at this over here, verse 2.
So that's where that the U.S. get the draft from, probably.
Yeah, it's not you American, you go to war.
Yeah,
right. There's no choice.
Right.
You don't want to do it, we're gonna prosecute you. And so they took a census, which literally is a head count. Right? This word for census is rosh, which is a word that, means the head. Right? They're literally doing a head count of people of a specific age who are ready of age to go and fight. And so it was interesting to me when we think about this, this idea of, this census and this count for the people, for purposes of war, that when we look over here, let's see, in verse 5. Here, let me get rid of this. Look at verse 5. This says, and these are the names of the men who stand with you. Okay, we want to pay attention to this over here. This word here, this is verse 5. This word here is amad. Amad, to stand. Okay, to abide. Abide behind. That's interesting. A good way to support someone is to be behind them. I got your back. All right. Appoint, arise, right? Establish, ordain, rise up, remain. All of these things we see in this word abide, but we're talking about these people who were readying themselves for war, right? They were ready to stand, right? They were ready to take a stand, right? They was ready to stand behind one another. Okay? We think about that word amad again, to stand, to remain, to endure, to be in a standing attitude, right? So not even thinking about the idea of literally standing, but to be in a standing attitude. I have an attitude of firmness, of uprightness, of stability, of remaining in a particular way, right? If I'm standing in an attitude of standing, right? You talk about the idea of taking a stand. Okay. So when we think about this, these people over here again, the movement through the wilderness, the first thing that's brought up is this census. The census of counting these men for battle in the wilderness, which again is this place where the Most High has sent forth His word. We could think about Israel. We could really think about Israel as the sent forth word of the Most High. He's sending forth Israel out across the wilderness to the promised land. When he's saying that he's going to go and send Israel over to dispossess the land of Canaan, Israel is the way that the Most High's word is being manifest. That word going forth. And so when we think about the Torah, of course, the law of the Most High, we have to always remember. Let's see, it's Romans 7. Romans 7 and 12. Yeah, what's 7 and 12?
So that the Torah truly is set apart, and the command set apart, and righteous and good.
The law is holy. The command is holy and righteous and good. And what do 14 say?
For we know that the Torah is spiritual, but I am fleshly, sold under sin.
The Torah, the law, is spiritual. Even though we're looking at this thing and it got all these, it says all these things, and you think that it's talking about physical things, but the Torah is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we think about the message that we gain from the Most High sending Israel into the wilderness, as he's sending them, making a count of the people to ready themselves for war, count the warriors, count the ones who's willing and able to go out and do the things. We know that the scripture tells us that Israel wasn't a mighty nation, but they was going to dispossess these other nations that was mightier than themselves. If we think back to even what we just looked at with the word of Yahweh going to Abraham, him saying that I will be your shield. He said, I will be your shield. I'll be the one that protects you. The word was saying that, the word of Yahweh, and thy exceeding great reward. The reason why these lowly people with their little 600,000 people that they had was able to go in and conquer these other nations wasn't because of how the strength that they had, but because of the Most High dwelling with them. Because even back then, the battle that they was fighting was a spiritual battle. Even way back there with them, it didn't have nothing to do with their physical stature. It had everything to do with the fact that the Most High was with Israel, his people, and was able to cause us to be victorious in these battles. And so thinking about that, I wanted to look over here at Ephesians, because when we look over here at this thing that's going on as we go into the book of Numbers, again, I find it interesting that the Most High is getting these warriors ready, and you don't have a choice but to be a part of the army.
Mm-hmm.
You can't opt out of the army. If you was an able-bodied man, right, of a particular age, you was in. And so you can't, there is no opting out. You got to be part of this army. But it's not a physical army, though, because the law is spiritual. Look at this. Let's look at this. I want to look at this. 6. Start reading at verse 10.
Ephesians 6 and 10. For the rest, my brothers, be strong in the master and in the mightiness of his strength. Put on the complete armor of Elohim, for you to have power and stand against the schemes of the devil.
He said for you to have power to stand.
Yeah.
When we think about before, where the elders was coming together, and it was important to know who was going to be standing there with them. And over here, we think about this over here, where it's talking about putting on this complete armor of Elohim for you to have power to stand against the schemes of the devil. Because this is a spiritual thing. Hold on. Because, verse 12 it says because. I'm about to say because, but I don't have to because the verses is saying it right here. Verse 12.
It said because. They're going to tell you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies.
Okay, very good. This thing that we do over here it ain't got nothing to do with flesh and blood. Just like it didn't have nothing to do with flesh and blood with Israel back in ancient times with their little 600,000 people that they had. It sounds like a lot of people, but when you talk about going up against nations, 600,000 people is a little bit of people. When you talk about going up against nations, right? And so back then it wasn't about flesh and blood. It was about spiritual things, about the people being right with the Most High, and the Most High fighting the battles for His people. And so when we look over here and think about this idea of putting on the complete armor of Elohim so that you have the power to stand against the schemes of the devil, this is the most important thing over here. Because we out here in this wilderness. We out here in this wilderness. We out here being sent forth from the Most High in this wilderness, and we need His word, His power to be able to exist in this place, because there's things that's going on that we are not able to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These principalities and these authorities and these world rulers of darkness of this age, the spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies.
And what further proved that too, when you go into other stories of the Bible, like, the kings, David and all that, and, other kings of Israel, when they went to war and the Most High wasn't with them, they lost.
Right.
So it wasn't physical.
Yeah.
The Most High ain't with you. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. You
Right.
tossing the dice on it.
Right. You can put it in the hands of your own strength if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But the Most High, He tells us that this thing, Paul didn't make this up. He's stating facts, that things that we already able to see in the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that's going on in the spirit realm that's being manifest in the physical realm. We think that we sitting up here going back and forth with our minds or with our physical strength with flesh and blood. But other things is going on in the spirit realm that's much more significant than what's going on in the flesh.
Right.
But read for us 13.
Because of this, take up the complete armor of Elohim, so that you have the power to withstand in the wicked day, and having done all, to stand.
Okay, so because of the fact that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, because of that, it's necessary for you to take up this complete armor of Elohim so that you're able to survive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to end up dead out here. And it's interesting when we think about this, that when we look back at Israel in Numbers, that we have this thing going on with an army, where he wasn't sitting up here talking about individuals. It wasn't about individuals. It was about the whole army, the whole nation coming together. And so when we look over at 13, where it says about here, so that you have the power to withstand in the wicked day, having done all to stand, having done all that you can do to remain, or all that you could do to endure, or all that you can do to be steadfast or upright or erect, right? All of these things to remain. Once you've done all of those things, what do 14 say?
Stand then, having girded your waist with truth.
Okay, so hold on. So you need these things that he's about to start talking about over here to withstand the wicked day and to withstand the wiles of the devil. If you don't have these things, then you're going to be in trouble. This is how you stand. He's going to catch you sleeping, laying down, or with your back turned. Right? You need these things. Girded your waist with truth. Yeshua is truth. If we don't have a real relationship with truth, then how can our waist be girded with truth? If my waist is girded, think about this, just even the thought of having your waist being girded. Right? As a man, you know, your strength is in that area. Right? Your procreative parts are protected by this thing that you kind of wrap around your waist. Right? Your strength comes from down inside of you in your waist area. That's the lowest part of your inward parts. When you think about your inward parts, it's coming from inside of there. Right? And so you're having the place that your strength is coming from girded with truth, which again is Yeshua. Truth from the Hebrew word for truth is also firmness. Right? True emunah is truth or firmness or steadfastness. So it says, stand then, having guarded your waist with steadfastness or firmness. Stand with firmness. But if we have no relationship with firmness, how then can we stand with firmness? How can we withstand the wicked day if we have no relationship with that which causes us to be firm? We cannot. Right? What the rest of the verse say? And what?
And having fitted your feet with the preparation of...
No, right here. This part.
14.
14, yeah.
Stand then, having girded your waist with truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness.
Righteousness. If we are in the place... This, again, so if the word is spiritual, we know that he's giving us this as a, this is hyperbole. There's no suit that you're putting on. Right?
Physically.
Physically. There's no physical suit that I'm going to my closet to put on. But when we think about these things that it's describing as a suit, we have to think about the fact that, first of all, what imagery he's trying to put forth. But the main thing is dealing with the things that he's coupling with the images, right? If I think about my breastplate, my heart is behind my breastplate, right? If my heart for whatever reason doesn't beat anymore, then I'm dead, right? And so he gives us just straight off the bat these things that are pretty vital to our movement, and he's given us so far truth, which is firmness, which is going to give you, goes along with this idea of standing, but also now we see over here this idea of righteousness, which we know comes from Yeshua again. Yeshua is the truth. Yeshua is the truth. But Yeshua he's also the King of righteousness. He is our righteousness. Yeshua is our righteousness. And so if we are not existing in a state of righteousness, how can we stand? Because we out here in this battle that's not physical, it's spiritual. And we need these spiritual things to be strong in our life, or else we gonna fall.
Right.
And thinking about the way that this thing is given to us in Numbers chapter 1, is an army anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even just only dependent on my own self. I'm dependent on the one that's standing next to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so who you surrounding yourself with? It's another thing.
And let me put it up. Let me change the thing so I'm sitting there making facial expressions, which you can't see.
Right.
It's an army. It's a collection of people all in the same, moving in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's 600,000 people that we talked about over there in Numbers. But all those people is dealing with truth and righteousness, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you wasn't dealing with truth and righteousness, you was getting out of there.
Yeah.
But looking at Ephesians, understanding that this is the way that we're able to stand in the first place, these things in our lives got to be solidified if we think we're supposed to make it through anything. You're not even going nowhere. You talking about just standing. He said you can't, if you just want to just be able to just stand.
Yeah.
You got to have truth. You got to have righteousness. For verse 15 with us, sir.
It says, and having fitted your feet with the preparation of the good news of peace.
The good news of peace. Everything we look at over here is pointing us to another aspect of Yeshua. And having a full understanding of what it is that Yeshua has indeed done for us. If you don't have a genuine relationship with the Master Yeshua, you don't have peace in your life. It's impossible. Your life is full of chaos. That's a matter of fact. He's the Prince of Peace.
Yeah.
We are able to have a peace that goes beyond our understanding because we have a right relationship with Yeshua. How we supposed to go out here in this world that's attacking us with all types of spiritual wickednesses from high and low places, high and low places.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you know,
if you think about, I think about the short time that I was doing Muay Thai, and you get to the place, doing in Muay Thai, and we would sometimes, the teacher would spar with us. The teacher would spar with us. You knew that he wasn't going full strength, but he's still the teacher though, right? And so he always would let you know that he was the teacher, in the sparring. But because of the training, over time, you're at least able to, the fear factor dissipates. Is where you're actually able to get to a place through the training to have a certain level of confidence to be able to move forward. But you don't have that right when you just the first time. Or you got a false confidence.
Then you get your head kicked in.
Yeah.
And you get woken up.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
And so when we think about the idea of our feet having this preparation of the good news of peace, who can be against us when we walk around and we know that Yeshua is truly with us? We're able to walk into situations and know how the end's going to be because of who you're with. Mm-hmm. Because you know that your relationship that you have with the Master is true and real and significant. Where you're able to, real things are going on in your life, and you just waiting for the end. Because you already know it's not going to destroy you. Mm-hmm. You just watching it play out. But outside of Yeshua, how do you do that? You can't do it.
No.
It's people out here losing their ever loving minds out here. But they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a true relationship with the Prince of Peace. The Prince of Peace. And so, again, if you don't got these things solidified in your situation, how you going to stand? You can't stand. He said, because of this, take up the complete armor of Elohim. He didn't say, get you some truth or some righteousness, and then that shall hold you.
You should be good.
You should be good.
Yeah.
All you just need is some truth.
Yeah.
You'll be good.
Everybody can read, and it's a whole bunch of reading. Everybody,
they got all knowledge.
It's so you got. They said put the whole thing on.
The whole thing. You can't just have part of it.
And you get, when you put the whole thing on, it make you walk a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't walk. You can't walk crooked with it.
No.
Because it'd be uncomfortable. You could tie it to a physical. You can take it physical. When you put this armor on, this heavy stuff, you gotta walk a certain way. It's gonna be uncomfortable. You ain't maneuvering the right way.
All that.
Yep.
All that. So he's giving us these physical things, but it's spiritual though.
Right.
Right? It's not nothing you're tying around your waist. There's nothing you're putting on top of your upper body. We talk about this. We talk about truth. That's Yeshua. We talking about righteousness. He is our righteousness. We talking about your feet being shod with the preparation of good news of peace. That's Yeshua. You have a genuine relationship with Yeshua, and you able to walk in the valley of the shadow of death, and not fear no evil. What do verse 16 say?
It says, all above, having taken up the shield of belief, with which you shall have power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked one.
The shield of faith. This over here. This shield of faith. You know, people don't put enough emphasis. The writer of this don't even put no emphasis on this. Why do the rest of these got bold face and the shield of faith don't got bold face? I'll have to write to the publisher of this.
Yeah. What do you call him? Editor? He ain't the author, right?
No. The publisher. The publisher of this here.
Yeah.
What is this? This is the scriptures. The shield of faith. Yeshua, the Most High said, the word of Yahweh came to Abraham and said, I am thy shield. He said, I am thy shield. Our faith is in, again, Yeshua. But if your faith is weak, then your shield is weak. And them fiery darts is getting through your shield. If your faith is wishy-washy out here, then you're gonna have some problems. It said above all. This is pretty serious right here. Above all, he said, taking up the shield of faith, with which you shall have power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked one. Because he got his arrows and he's shooting them at you. But if you not always able to be steadfast in your faith, unshakable, immovable in your faith, never doubting, always trusting, then you're going to have some problems. Because things is going to happen. People going to come around and be in your situation. Is you sure about that stuff that you've been talking about with them people is real? What about this thing over here? You know, we really Egyptians out here. You know, we supposed to be walking around with you know, doing these Kemet stuff over here. You sure you supposed to be messing around with those Israelite people? Maybe you're right. Maybe I should watch some YouTube videos and see if I can find something that verifies this. That's called weak faith. True faith, this word, we talked about this word last week, is about being convinced. When you're persuaded, when you're convinced about a thing, it don't matter who come around. You can't be turned. You can't be turned. And it don't even always got to be about you know, that like that you going into other situations, but you able to show that you have a steadfast faith in what you say you believe in whenever, you know, you come into a situation where you got to make choices in life. And the choices that you make is going to be the things that's saying whether or not your faith is strong or if it isn't. Let's go over here and just do this real quick. It ain't going to hurt, man. It ain't nothing. Ain't nobody gonna see. Let's go over here and do this thing real quick. This little thing right here. And then you be like, I'm just going just this one time. Just go ahead. And then that's where you done messed up right there.
You talking about wickedness?
Well, I mean, yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
That's how you slip into wickedness. Because wickedness feel good, don't it? Wickedness feel good. It look good. It tastes good. It smell good.
Yeah.
All that. Come on, get some of this. Get you some of this wickedness. I mean, it ain't that serious. Like, just, you know what I'm saying? Let's just real quick. If you got a little shield, if you got some weak faith, you gonna say, all right, I'm just on just this one time. And maybe it's not really that bad. It ain't gonna hurt nobody.
Mm-hmm.
It only take a little dart to kill you.
Well, that's why I told you these is burning arrows. So
They burning arrows.
So
It could be like a
you
little
can
thing.
Yeah, you can block the arrow, but it might get stuck in your shield. Your shield catch fire. I don't know how it never started going. You know what I'm saying? You be like, oh, I beat that, but you gotta keep. It's a
The
battle,
residual effects of it is
These
still
ain't regular
there.
arrows from the wicked one.
The strong shield is gonna quench
All of that.
the arrows.
Yeah.
So it's blocking them and it's quenching them. It's twofold.
You quench all the burning arrows because the wicked one.
He got all kinds of things.
Yeah, he. Hey man, I don't like to give props to the wicked one or the devil, Satan, but he nice, man. With his wickedness, I'm telling you, he's a beast.
Yeah,
He's a beast. I be like,
as
wow,
far as that, yeah.
he nice, cause you can see how people fall. If you don't got this armor, you got it. Good luck. You be like, man, cause you gotta be.
You got to be solid in your faith.
Yep.
And if you're not solid in your faith, then you got some problems. Because you're going to get tricked.
They said he's the most subtle creation, like.
Of all creation. If you're not solid in your faith, you're going to get tricked, period. It's not even like you might. You will be.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have all of these things in place over here in order to stand.
Stand a chance. Yeah.
You don't stand a chance less you have every single one of these things. The helmet of we didn't read 17. Read 17.
17. Take also the helmet of deliverance and the sword of the spirit, which is the word of Elohim.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
They put that one last, the sword. They put the offensive one last. You got all these defensive things.
Yeah.
You know, the peace and the faith and the truth and the peace of the gospel. The helmet of deliverance. The helmet of deliverance. When you think about the idea of being delivered, the idea of being delivered, you got to know that you've been delivered.
Right. It starts in the mind.
Even if you really delivered, but you don't know that you delivered, you ain't delivered, because you still think that you ain't delivered. It's interesting that they made this be the helmet. They made this be the helmet of deliverance. Why the helmet of deliverance? Because you got to know Yeshua, what he's done in your life, what he's capable of doing in your life, what he's already done for you. You've got to be solid in your relationship with Yeshua in your mind. You got to really know that he is truly there for you and literally has brought you out of whatever it is that binds you. You got to know it. Because if you don't know it, you could be just like those people that they talk about, back whenever slavery was abolished, that was going back to their masters. Mm-hmm. They was physically free, but they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to be free. They just was going back. They went back to their masters because they didn't know what to do. They were still enslaved in their minds. Mm-hmm. True deliverance is a total deliverance. And it got to be it's a steadfast thing. And so when you think about the idea of the shield and the helmet, the faith and the deliverance and all these things, the gospel of peace and righteousness and truth, all of these things, you need all of those things. But if you don't got that sword of the spirit, which is the word of Elohim, you can have all of those other things, but if you lacking on the sword, if all you got is defense and you got no offense, I mean, defense gets you a long way, but you got to at least, you got to get on the board.
You got to be able to fight that. and
you got to know this word.
About to say, when you know the word, you cut they say cutting asunder the spirit and the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can do some work when you know this word.
But if you don't, you
out there without no offense.
Think about Yeshua and Hazatan whenever he was in the wilderness. Yeah. Yeshua was. They was battling with the word.
Yeah, they was battling.
And he's using the word against. Well, he's using the word against the word. But the point is that if you don't know the word, the things that he was saying could have got you bound up.
Exactly. Satan could have got you. But he was exercising on it. He was,
Yeah.
He's like, you trying to come against me, Satan? Yeah. I am the one. Yeah.
and this is a thing that we have to understand.
Right.
Again, Paul's giving us this. He's just giving us these principles. We got to have the word of the Most High. We got to understand all that Yeshua has done for us in terms of, deliverance. The salvation that's provided through Yeshua. Having a strong faith and being steadfast and convinced that he's done all that he's done. All of these things. We got to have all of these things, but at the end of the day, these all come from having a real understanding, not even just a surface understanding, a real understanding of the word and the spirit inside of you to bring that word alive in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that, you're going to get shot by these fiery darts.
Well, you just stopped there. That was funny. You're going to get shot.
Period, point blank. And we got to know this. And it's interesting, again, going back to Numbers, that the first thing that we talking about here, once we get a full understanding of with Leviticus, with the with worship, with the way that we approach the Most High, once we get that figured out, now it's about the battlefield. And ain't nobody exempt. Everybody going to war that's of age.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting a pass. And so when we look over to here now, where we think about this from a new covenant perspective, where now the Most High is telling us now that we are a whole nation of priests.
Right.
Of kings and priests. We all have a part to play in this battle. And so Satan and his devices ain't gonna say, oh, that's just a woman over there. I ain't gonna shoot no darts at her. That don't make any sense. Of course he's gonna shoot some darts at you.
Mm-hmm. That's the easiest target. Except children, I guess.
Children. He ain't gonna say, oh, that's just a little kid. I can't use them little kids. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can use some little kids. And that's why when we think about this in relation to numbers, we talking about army. We talking about an army. He didn't say we're not dealing with one individual being able to fight off all of the ones and the people and the things and all of that. We talking about Israel as a nation. Okay? And so, you know, we you know, you have to get to the place of having all of these things be in place so that you're able to stand against the wicked one, right? But until you get to that place, you got to be with those that's going to be able to help you to get to that place. Cause ain't nobody sitting up here with no pixie dust and saying, okay, now you know everything, now you ready to go. It's a process. This stuff he talking about over here, the girding your waist with truth and your breastplate of righteousness and all of this stuff, this ain't it's not a uniform that you just go get at the store. These are things that develop in you over time. Read 18. Read 18 too. What'd I say?
Praying and with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, watching in all perseverance and supplication for all the set apart ones.
Even when you think about this, it's giving you the idea of a process. It's a process. Even the writer Paul is, you know, looking to continually be strengthened in righteousness, strengthened in faith. Perseverance is about moving forward, pressing in. Right? Perseverance is about you being able to continue to be a certain way in spite of the things that's going on around you. If we're out here and our surroundings are dictating our life, then that's not what he talk about in watching in all perseverance. Perseverance is you withstanding the onslaught of life and still remaining on the course.
Yeah.
I got to get over there. What's going to stop me? Nothing. No ting.
Yep. Because it's on the inside. It's all the work is happening on the inside.
But if didn't no work happen on the inside, then what?
No work was really done.
You stuck. You gonna get shot by the fiery darts. What does it say? That reminds me of the questions. Where do the Hebrews get? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Where do the Hebrews get their clothes? Yeah. You can't get it at the store, huh? You can't go to the store and buy it. Somebody got to make it. It's just that.
Yeah.
I can't go to the store and buy none of this. Deliverance, peace, faith, righteousness. These things got to be implanted in me and grow to the place where they're able to be effective. And until they get to that place, I need to stand behind somebody else's shield.
Yeah, that's deep.
It's an army.
Because, you know, the different attires and stuff, we gotta make it. It takes somebody righteous to make something righteous. And if the devil's ruling the world, where are you gonna get righteous stuff from?
They don't got it.
The righteous people gotta make it. We gotta do it.
But the same thing is true. Again, we talking about this thing about the spirit.
Yeah.
This thing over here is spiritual. This thing over here is spiritual. Here, let's look at this. I'm gonna add this to the next. 2 Corinthians. We talking about the wilderness because we are in the wilderness and we out here and it's war. It's war out here. And if you not ready for war, it ain't like the war gonna stop because you ain't ready. You gonna be a casualty of war. That's what's gonna happen. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 3 through 6. What did I say?
It says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not fight according to the flesh. For the weapons are not fleshly, but mighty in Elohim for overthrowing strongholds."
Okay. The weapons we fight with is what we were just talking about. The word, the spirit. The fact that the Most High, through his son Yeshua, has done so much for us to be the way that he would have for us to be. True faith. Walking in true faith. These things are the things that cause you to be able to overthrow strongholds. But if you're not skillful with your spiritual weapons, you're not overthrowing those strongholds. You just not gonna do it. Everything that come around gonna trip you up. I mean, what make people think that this here thing that we do over here is less complex than, I don't know, a piano or a violin or any type of martial arts or drawing or writing.
That's true.
Or anything. There's nothing that you can say that you're going to do that you're able to do just
without practice and effort. And
if did and just made him just lay down and not get up, and maybe he stand up but we sit him down. Don't hurt yourself, baby. Here, just sit down again. When would how would he learn how to walk without actually getting up and taking steps? He never would. It's not just osmosis. He's gonna get up and he's gonna wait. He got to get up and take steps and walk and fall down even to know how to do it. Anything you do in life, the only way you do it is by training. Period. And so these over here, these weapons that you fighting with, if you not overthrowing no strongholds, zero. If you're not utilizing these things that come from the Most High, His Word. Verse 5.
Overthrowing reasonings And every high matter that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, taking captive every thought to make it obedient to the Messiah.
This verse right here. How you gonna do it? How you gonna do it and you don't even know what the word even says? Overthrowing reasonings. Oh,
Right.
overthrowing reasonings.
Right.
Somebody. It's interesting. I watch people talk, and not that I'm anything, but I watch people talk, and I look at these people sometimes at the way these people be talking, and I understand how somebody who don't know anything could listen to some of these people that be out here talking. How these people could just follow whatever this person says, because they speak just like whatever, just eloquently.
Yeah.
You're not able to overthrow any reasonings if you don't have a mind to do it.
Right.
If somebody's sitting up here telling you what the word says, and you don't know what the word says, you be like, oh, it says that?
Yeah.
Wow, I never even knew that.
That make a lot of sense and this and that. But when you know, you can hear people talking and be like,
huh? What?
Where you getting that from? Or, that's not right.
Exactly. But you got to be at that place, though.
Yeah.
And you don't just be at that place just from nothing.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes time.
It says overthrowing reasonings and every high matter that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim.
Yeah.
If you don't have a proper knowledge of Elohim, how you supposed to know if something is exalting itself over the knowledge of Elohim? You don't know. You don't know right from wrong.
Nope.
You can't overthrow no reasonings.
Nope.
But you must be able to do it though, because this is a battlefield. And your life's gonna be taken because you out here unprotected. For the weapons we fight with are not fleshly but mighty in Elohim. For overthrowing strong. That's what they're for.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to know what it is that the Most High is able to do. We got to know what He wants so that we can know what He don't want. Mm-hmm. We got to be able to differentiate between right and wrong. That's wisdom and discretion. We got to know what it is that He would have for us to be doing and not, and the difference between the two.
Yep.
I mean, that's something that's really lacking in Israel, discretion. You know, you could know a thing, and the thing that you know is right. But if you're not going about delivering the thing that you have that's right, then guess what? You just made something that's right be wrong because you don't have discretion.
Yep.
And somebody could sit up here and have these things to say, and the 9 out of 10 things that they said is right and totally straight out the book. But then they add that one little thing to it that just messed the whole thing up. Exactly. And they got you fooled because you don't know any better.
Yep. That's 1,000% right there. See it all the time.
He said with the things that has been made available to us, we supposed to be out here overthrowing strongholds and casting down every high matter that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim. This is not something that's just this is not some elitist thing over here.
Right.
This is every warriors. This is what's in your arsenal. The ability to do this right here. 2 Corinthians 10:4. But if there's still application, if there's no training involved, then
Exactly.
it's not going to be there. hold on, read verse 6. That's because that's a key part of it too.
And being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is complete.
Being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is complete. So it's necessary for you to walk a certain way to get to this place of doing these things over here. Taking captive these thoughts. Taking captive every thought to make it obedient to the Most High. You sitting up here getting these thoughts of this or that. He said you supposed to take them thoughts captive. If there's things that's going on inside of your mind that are contrary to the will of the Most High, you don't sit up here and walk in obedience to those things. You take those things captive in your mind and make those things be obedient to Messiah. That's what it said right there. Come on, let's go out here and get some of this carnality. Nah. No, I'm not doing that. I follow after Messiah. Taking every thought to make it obedient to Messiah. This what we out here doing? Is this how we out here living our lives? Or there's some things we let slide through? Some things we let slide. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's the real training right there. To get to the point where every thought is filtered.
That's what he's saying. You have access to the tools that put you in a position where you taking every thought and making that thought be captive. We can't be slaves to our carnal mind. We cannot be slaves to our carnal mind. We can only be slaves to our master Yeshua. And when we sit up here and we give in to the wants and desires of our flesh and our carnal mind, we not living this verse out right here, where he's telling us you got the ability to overthrow all of these things. You got the ability to be able to take all of these things that are against you in high and low places. This spiritual wickedness that's powerful. You able to cast these things down. They don't have to have power over you.
Right. Let me do a fun analogy because I like analogies.
Go ahead.
So you got water, right? We all need to drink water. You got water filters that are able to remove certain amount of toxins or contaminants in certain water. So you think if you mind your thoughts rather as water. So imagine you go to because I've been researching this stuff a little bit. So imagine you go get you a strainer, like a spaghetti strainer.
Yeah.
Or whatever they them big holes, and you put your
a colander.
Your colander, and you put your water through that.
That's
and you thinking you filtering your water.
Yeah.
But this is the little bit of knowledge, you think you bought this $2 strainer from the store and you filtering your thoughts through that, and you think you got some clean thoughts coming on the other side and you doing the right thing. And they got $200 filters, and the density of what's all in them filters, you gotta look at that like that's the scripture, that's the word. When you can put your thoughts through that, and that water come out clear, clean, nourishing, and all of that.
Yeah,
that's how you gotta look at the word.
Yeah, that the word is that filter. That the word got that. It got that charcoal in there. It got that super fine mesh. You know what I'm saying? It got some.
It catch all the wickedness.
All kind of stuff in there.
Yeah,
that wickedness ain't getting through that. But people out here though with colanders talk about I'm filtered about water.
Exactly.
No, you ain't. The fiery darts is getting right through that.
Easy.
Them people out there getting overthrown by some reasoning all over the place. I mean, this thing is People got to really be out here and be about studying these scriptures and this word and understanding what it is that the Most High wants for us to be out here doing. You can't be out here playing games. He gives us all of this. I mean, if you just think about the fact that we got this book right here that he wants for us to look and read and understand this book right here. I mean, it's a bunch of words in here.
Yeah.
Sentences and paragraphs and all that. We got to be true students of this word. We can't be out here playing no games. You can't just sit up here and just be somebody who just only always depends on somebody else to feed you. You got to get to the place where you understand it for yourself. Because people be out here with some funny reasonings. And you be like, oh, wow, that is deep what that person said over there. He's speaking the truth. Meanwhile, he a lie. He a lie from the pit of hell, he a lie. Yeah. But you don't know because you don't do the work. And there's work to be done. He's saying, when we sit up there and think about having that full armor on, part of that is understanding what that word say over there. The main part of it. That's what brings it all together. Is understanding that word. If you don't understand that word, you need to be somewhere trying to understand it.
Another big thing, not only understanding, but understanding that is actionable. It's like you take it and you immediately apply.
Right now.
You apply it.
Right now.
It's not just knowing it. Because people will be knowing the Bible. But you ain't doing it though.
And that right there is faith though. Like if I say that I know it, but I don't exercise what I know, then that's not faith. If I believe in my heart, in all my being, if I sit on that chair, it'll hold me up. But I never sit in the chair, I don't really believe that it could hold me up.
Right.
I'm really afraid that it might not hold me up. So I'm not going to sit it. That's not faith. This thing that he gave us, for us just to know what it says only and not be doing it, that really means that you don't know what it says.
Yeah.
If you say that you know and love the Most High, then you're going to do what he wants for you to do. If you love me, keep my commandments, he said. If you love me, show me that you love me by doing the things that I want for you to be doing.
That's what I was saying. When you know the book and you see somebody else, you can tell that they know the book too. Because
you know what it looks like.
That they're doing it.
Because you understand, what it looks like. And so bringing all of this stuff together, when we think about Israel, when we think about the census, when we think about being ready for war, once we understand who the Most High is, the next thing we got to understand is that we are in war. And you got to be ready for war. And if you ain't ready, you need to be trying to get ready and be around some people that's ready. Or else you're going to be in big trouble.
I know this ain't carnal, but in my mind, I be standing like with this stuff on, with a sword, like the sword is like in the ground, and I be like this, ready for to start swinging on stuff.
I mean, we
this
think
is really
about
how I am about mine.
We think about we think from a carnal perspective because we're human beings.
Right.
Like he's giving it to us like this so that we can understand it.
Yeah.
And that thought process is a thought process of readiness. Where you're ready to go. But you became ready through training. That's how you became ready. When Israel began its walk through the wilderness, the first thing they sat up there and did was figured out who gonna be the ones that's gonna fight. When you understand who the Most High is, and you know what he has done for you, when you understand that he split heaven and earth open so that he could put his son Yeshua inside of here so that he could bring back his chosen people Israel back to himself. All the lengths that he went through for each and every one of us. When we understand that, the next thing we got to understand is that we're at war. The devil know that his time we look for everlasting life, but the devil know that his time got a number. He know that there's an end to his thing. And he wants to sit up here and get all the people that he could get to go up and be where he gonna be at. We got to do everything that's in our power to not be where he gonna be at. And we got to know it's a battle going on. It's a war out here. Or are you ready? Better get ready. Better get ready. Because this is not a game. It's not a game. It's serious out here. Okay. So one last thing we think about going back to Leviticus, going back to Numbers, going back to Numbers. When we think about the Levites who were not numbered, right? They were not numbered with the ones that will fight. They didn't go to war, right? Because their war was, the thing that they had to take care of was the tabernacle, right? They was responsible for maintaining the holiness of the tabernacle, right? And so they then didn't have to. They weren't numbered. They didn't have to go to war, right? They had this thing where the uncleanness, right? If you go to war, there's gonna be people that die, right? And so there was that separation between the Levites and the other tribes. But again, when we think about where we are in this place, under the renewed covenant. Each and every one of us is responsible not only to maintain the holiness of our temple, which is our body. Not only are we responsible for maintaining the holiness of our temple, but we're also responsible for being ready for war. Okay, so we have a dual purpose, and we have responsibilities that Israel didn't have when we look back, from a historical standpoint, and it's important that we remember and know what our responsibility is, and that is to be ready for our own sake, for your own sake. Be ready for war, because war's not going to stop just because you're not ready. Right? You can't be vulnerable, and just like in a physical war, the consequences of you not being ready could really mean your whole life. Okay, so that being said, does anybody have any thoughts or questions or comments about any of that? Okay, so that being said, for now, I think we are going to go ahead and be done. Then, Yah willing, we'll be back on next week to speak more about what's going on over here in the book of Numbers. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the notification bell so that you could get all of the upcoming things that we got going on. Say for now, Shabbat Shalom, and Yah willing, we'll be back on next week to deal some more.